Of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. I'm Sandra Bellamy, author of Asexual Perspectives, founder of asexualise.com and founder of Asexualise Academy. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please go hit that great big subscribe button now. Hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're liking it as we go along. Hello, Michael. Welcome to tonight's episode. Lovely to see you again. So I've been going live on this channel now since the 1st of July 2018. And we're now on the 2nd of December 2018. So that's like 5 months. Wow, that's pretty incredible. So yeah, you've had me for 5 months for all the ups and downs of all the 5 months. It's pretty good going. I have to give myself it's pretty good going. I have to give myself an applaud for actually being able to do that, because I've never done anything like that in my life before, being actually continuously doing something like that. So that's been kind of like a challenge for me, a good challenge for me. It becomes harder when obviously you kind of like have moments of up and downness, but I like to keep this channel very real, as you know. So today I want to talk to you about how do you make friends as an adult. Now, this was a question which I didn't expect, but it came up on a forum on ace-book.net. So I have to, it's ace with a dash or a hyphen if you like, book.net. Now, if you don't know what acebook.net is, it's a social networking and dating site for asexuals. So you can try and find a partner on there, but there are also a ton of forums, and you can also write your own blog posts. So I've been on there for quite some time now. For me personally, I haven't had much success really from it in terms of meeting someone or staying in touch with someone through asexuality.com, which is the other dating website that some people do use to find friends as well, which I'm going to be coming on to. Then, I've had more success through that. For friendship. So as this is talking about friendship, I'm going to be obviously recapping a bit more, going into a bit more detail about that. So, but how do you make friends as an adult was a question that came up on acebook.net, and I was like, that's weird. I've never thought about that question before, because I kind of like, I'm an extrovert, as you know, and not many asexuals are extrovert. But I want to tell you and take you back to a time when I wasn't extroverted at all. And I think it's important to begin with the fact that how you make friends as an adult is usually how you would make friends as a child. But the problem is that when you get older, you get fears and inhibitions that stop you from acting like you would do as a child. So a child usually, I'm coming on to asexuals being different at the moment, usually a child would be quite playful, they would be quite like exploring, they wouldn't have much fear. This is usually society's norms, right? But obviously I'm going to go into details of why it's not like that. But in general, you should be, as a child, be like that. You should be free to express yourself as a child. You should be playful, energetic, and, if it's a healthy childhood you've had, you'll probably be going up to people, just automatically chatting to them and making friends with them. If you've had a good childhood, a healthy one that's positive, one where you're not being bullied, you're not upset all the time, all that type of thing, that's what a child would usually do. They'd usually have no fear. They'd usually go exploring. They'd usually chat to different other boys and girls, or obviously, as it is now, agender different, you can get lots of different types of children from a very young age, presenting as different, but and different genders. But in general, still, I think when you're sort of really going to like first, primary school, as it's called in the UK, or first school, when you're kind of like 4 and 5, I still think it's kind of like boys, girls mostly type gender that things are sort of like aimed at and presenting themselves as, if you know what I mean. So the whole point is if you've lived a healthy, happy childhood, then you would normally be doing these things. You're normally exploring situations. You wouldn't have any fear. And as an adult, it usually is, in general, as an adult, instead of having all those childlike qualities, you kind of like give those up as you're going along, and you become more withdrawn, and you become more like more of a force field around you, and you become more scared, and you become more reluctant, because as an adult, if you're talking to strangers, it can seem weird. And as a child, we're always taught, aren't we, usually don't talk to strangers, which in some way is brilliant safety advice, but in other ways it's absolutely damaging for you going forward in your life, being scared to talk to anyone you don't know, because until you talk to someone you don't know, you're never going to make any friends. And that's why the don't talk to strangers, although it's a safety mechanism and technique that, yes, you need to protect children, it also can be very damaging psychologically, where you constantly think, I can't speak to strangers, bad things will happen to me if I talk to strangers, I can't do that, and it makes us scared. So our own parental guidance, which may have been for the best for us and may have been brilliant intention, can also have a dual effect. One being that it can, hi Andy, thank you for joining me. Like I was saying, that the best intention from the parents, when they're saying to the child, don't talk to strangers, that can actually have a dual effect. One, yes, great, you need to keep your children safe, because they are horrible people in that world, like paedophiles, people who are nasty people, but there are also a lot of kind people, a lot of beautiful people, a lot of people that want friends just like you do. And the fact is, as a society, sometimes we're so led in state of fear, particularly with all the news. On the news there's rape, hi Heather, there's rape, suicides, what is there, bombings, death, destruction on the news, and it really does portray this society and world that is so scary that if you talk to anyone you don't know, potentially you could be in harm, right? And whilst there is an element of that danger, it's true and real, it also can blow so much up in your mind that you never ever actually go out and speak to people, because you're too scared. And then other people are scared, everyone becomes scared, and nothing happens, and people end up being lonely and depressed and isolated and upset and unhappy. So it really is difficult. But what you should be thinking about is what a childhood should be like in an ideal. A lot of gun shooting, yes, Heather. What you should be thinking about is a lot of like if you're in a happy, healthy childhood, you should be thinking about what that would look like and how you would interact with children in that way. If you're happy, healthy, you were brought up to be very positive about yourself, you'd be putting yourself forward, wouldn't you? You'd have self-assurance, you'd be confident, you'd be bold, and those are the qualities you need to make friends as an adult, the same qualities you need as a child. Now, going back and contrasting that to what actually happens with what happened to me personally, and what happens to a lot of asexuals, and because we're so different, and our difference with our sexuality often filters through to other areas of our life, we end up being different, seen as different. We can often be bullied, and we can have our confidence undermined. We can have our self-esteem destroyed, or never really there in the first place. We can be easily manipulated, we can be vulnerable and scared and upset and in pain, and when we're like that, we will retreat into our shell. We won't be bold, be brave, we won't be confidently going up to people talking. We will literally maybe make a few friends if we're lucky, if we're really bold enough to feel like, can I actually talk to this person, and make us quite scared. And these type of childhood behaviours and patterns can also lead into a lot of social anxiety and anxiety in general for many years to come and throughout adulthood. You can die having anxiety. I personally had a childhood I didn't like. Not everything was bad, but I saw, and even now when I look back, I try to reframe it. So the bad things that happened to me, I try and think now that I survived them and that I'm thriving now. So I did really well because I'm a strong person, and that's good. But for many years, it's only this year I've been trying to reframe stuff, only in the last probably couple of months, because I came across an entrepreneur who I follow a lot, and I've got his book and I've seen him in person, been to his speaker training course actually. And, he was talking about childhood behaviour patterns and how we're programmed from a young age, because we've got into these patterns of destruction. And we have to kind of go back into our childhood and reframe that childhood into more of a positive way in order to move forward in our adult life and to feel happier going forward, because playing the same destructive record is not going to do us any good. And it's hard. I'm still trying to work on that, you know. I didn't my childhood has affected me throughout my adulthood quite a lot, but I was shy up till the age of 10, right? I had two people who were my so-called friends. One was out of school, one was in it. The one that was in it in primary school, we fell out, and basically my hamster died, and I said I wish I was dead because my hamster meant the world to me. And my friend at the time, so-called friend, said I wish you were too. And obviously that was one of the most shocking and devastating things a person could say. I couldn't believe they said it. I'm like, why did you say that? And from then on we weren't friends anymore, and it started, I was off like kind of like you know, like I would separate things from them. I would be completely shut off from them. And in the relationship, though, the friendship relationship, I have to let you know that it was very one-sided, that I was doing nearly all the work in the relationship. It was a friendship relationship. I'm not a lesbian, but she would cry. She was a very spoilt person. And her brother and his friends started bullying me. And we got into this fight, and she got me in trouble. The headmaster said I pinched her. I didn't. I did grab her arm. That was true, but I didn't pinch her. But even so, grabbing someone's arm's not great. We were arguing and fighting basically, but not usually that physical. But yeah, so it wasn't good. It was a bad time in my life. And the bullying was horrible by her brother and his friend. You know, I was on the hopscotch at the time, and when you're under 10, it's like, crikey. But I decided at 10 years old, sort of just before I went, I think it was 10, that I wouldn't be shy anymore, that I wouldn't, that I'd try and push myself to be more of an extrovert person, because the shyness wasn't getting me anywhere. It was making me very upset. I didn't have any friends. I was quite lonely. Unfortunately, I went to secondary school and was bullied quite a lot there for a good couple of years or more. And I think throughout the whole of school, I wasn't, I know for 2 solid years at least, I was being bullied, probably a lot longer than that, probably throughout most of the time. So, and I had one so-called friend at secondary school who, I had kind of like people at primary school that I had got as friends, but I didn't really class them as friends. But actually, those people were good and better friends, but I didn't realise it at the time. So at primary school, I did have a friend that I classed more of as an acquaintance, and she brought me a gift back from a country, and I was quite rude to her, and I was I had some issues going on with friendships and stuff, and I was quite rude to her at the time. I remember that, and that was my fault for being a kid. And I didn't realise actually it was this person later on that I was rude to in primary school that actually in secondary school was my true best friend, because although we weren't best friends, she was the only person that stuck up for me when I was being bullied, when the person that was supposed to be my so-called best friend at the time, this is in secondary school now, not primary school, this person was different to the person in the primary school I was supposed to be friends with. When I was in secondary school, this person was supposed to be my friend, yet she sided with the people that were sticking their fingers up at me behind my back, that were being horrible to me and saying nasty things about me. So she wasn't really a true friend. And I don't trust a lot of women, because of the experiences I've had with women in the past at school. The women were always worse to me than the men. And so that's why nowadays I tend in general to get on better with guys. If I have female friends, I would say probably those female friends, the ones I'm closest to, are, they probably have some more male traits to them. Actually, the ones I got on really well with, they're more direct. They're more, probably the world would say more butch, and they're probably more like direct and tell it like it is, and they don't give me rubbish. They're not deceitful. They're not lying and cheating and saying things behind my back. They're very upfront, and if they don't agree with something, they'll tell me, more like a guy is. That's why I kind of like guys. But I think guys in general, from my personal experience, are better as my friends than relationships, because when they get in a relationship, the guys I've been in, they then start lying, cheating, and being I'm like, well, this person's my friend. They were really nice guys, my friend. What the heck happened? So actually, they've probably always been like that, but they're probably on their best behaviour as a friend in the past. But I've got good guy friends now, so that's great. So yeah, my childhood wasn't great, and obviously if I haven't had a great childhood, I am not used to socializing with people. I'm not used to going up to people, approaching them for friendship as a general rule, because I was made to feel bad about myself. I was made to feel small, belittled, like I didn't matter. I didn't look great. I wasn't wearing the right clothes. I wasn't like the other women that were after, obviously, boys. I used to have females trying to pick physical fights with me and going, I'll fight you. And I'm like, I'm not interested. I don't want to do that, And they're like, come on. And I'm like, I'm not interested, And it's really horrible, and like these people, it's really kind of weird, ironic actually, because these people were probably quite aggressively, in a manly aggressive way actually, but I didn't like them. I didn't think about them having any male traits about them, but I guess the people that were actually fighting me, they were they were very aggressive. I didn't really think of that as a man trait, but I suppose that could be seen as a man trait. But yeah, they were just horrible. That one particular person, she was a ringleader, and the women would all gang up. It's horrible. But yeah, this one person in school that actually stuck up for me, which wasn't in my class, I am still friends with her to this day, because I have never ever forgotten what she's done for me. I usually go and see her, to be fair. She hardly ever comes and sees me, like once every few years maybe, because she's got a kid. So I do understand. It'd be nice. I would like her to come and visit me more, to be honest with you. But I always go over and see her, like not very often, but I try and see her at Christmas if I can, and near her birthday if I can, and give her a gift. And I will always be eternally grateful to her, for sticking up for me when no one else did. And so yeah, I'm gonna be like happy tears like for her doing that now. So yeah, so if we've learned in our childhood past behaviors that weren't good, if we were lonely and scared, and we were bullied, and we were made to feel really bad about being us, that's not going to make us want to approach people or think that people are good for us, or we'll feel that we're better off on our own. To be honest, we'll feel that even if we're lonely, that's a better way of being than having all that pain, upset, and strife and trouble, and that constant pow at you. This just numbs your mind out after a while. You just like live in your own head. I'm very analytical. I've always lived in my own head since a kid. And as an adult, that can actually be beneficial, because if you use it in the right way, because you can start to, if you get into personal and professional development, if you get into to change your life for the better, you can kind of like think internally how other people can't, because you've trained your mind all that time. So in your childhood, it might have been really bad because you were internalizing all the time, and it still isn't great to constantly criticize you. You need to try and praise yourself as well, and get out those bad habits of constantly criticizing yourself in your life. But at the same time, it's good because you can think in a way that other people can't think, because they haven't trained their brains to talk to themselves inside, if you know what I mean. So actually that can be a skill and a talent later in life if you realise it. If you're still internalising bad stuff all the time, and you're still thinking really bad thoughts about yourself, and you're constantly saying negative stuff to yourself, then that isn't great. But if you are in your own mind and you're trying to think of ways to improve your life, and you're trying to say, for example, like I love writing, like being in your own head when you're writing is great, because you can express what's in your head on paper. Like even if you're not a writer, it's good to journal, and that can become very therapeutic, and that can get all your emotions out, and you can actually end up being a very more healthy person later on, because the bad patterns you use in your head, you can actually change them into good patterns and to work for your advantage later on in your life. But unless you're told this stuff, you don't really realise, because obviously you'll still associate your going into your head as a bad thing. But going into your head, it depends what you're doing in your head, can actually be a good thing if you use it in the right way. So making friends as an adult for an asexual person can be very, very difficult, because we are not used to it. We're used to being punished usually if we talk to people. We're used to being, I'm talking about if you've been bullied. I know a lot of asexuals have been bullied. This is why I'm telling you what happened to me. This is why I'm opening up. You haven't heard everything like I'm speaking about now, but it's really important that you understand that I'm not like the scared little child I always was. But some things in life do still scare me. I do still have some degree of anxiety, although I've worked on pushing through my fears and boundaries so much that I manage my anxiety really well now, you know, and I will push myself to do things that I know may be scary for me on purpose so that I don't be so scared of it anymore. But as a child, you know, when you're making friends, if you've got a lot of problems with making friends because you generally don't want to approach people because you think you won't be accepted, you'll be laughed at, people will be aggressive to you, people may be even physically hurting you, you know, it's not going to make you want to go out and make friends. But as an adult, you have to realize that these people are not in a confined space anymore with you. Like when you're at school, even college, maybe you will have problems, but you know, particularly when you're at school, you're in a confined area, you know, there's no really any way you can escape to. You can't get out of there apart from in your own head, right? You can't you know, like run away. You can't, I mean, I thought even in primary school what it'd be like loads of times to just go over that fence, you know, just go over the wall. If I could climb walls, you know, just go out the gate, you know, when no one's looking. And I'm like, well, where would I go? What would I do? Like, I get into real trouble and then I didn't want punishment, you know. So but I used to think about it, I kind of used to daydream about it, you know, and because, you know, you want to escape. But in the adult world it's different, because in the adult world we hold the power to our own lives because we're not in this confined space anymore. We can choose who we have in our life. You can't control other people, so there will still be bad people that come into your life. There will still be people who put you down. Sometimes there will still be people who mock you, who might be horrible to you, might write nasty things about you, might say nasty stuff about you, and you can't control that, unfortunately. But you have to focus on all the positive people that can be in your life, all the people that are good people, that are maybe lonely just like you, that want friendship just like you know. And there are a lot of asexuals that want that, and you kind of have to put the past behind you, thinking, right, I'm an adult now, I live in a world that's my own, I can make it my own, I can live, I call my life my world of quirky. I've actually got a website called worldofquirky.com, and I kind of live in my own world of quirky, you know. It's a safe haven for me. I do like spending time by myself, despite being an extrovert, because sometimes, you know, like, it's not really to do with people as much, just as people as much, like, but it's kind of like I don't like to be normalised. So if I go around, say, my parents' house, and they've got everything like a normal person would have, like normal decor and kind of more simplistic stuff, I don't actually like that. I don't feel safe, I guess. I don't feel as comfortable in it. It's not really my style. I prefer, like, you know, having things around me, like cute cuddly things, you know, like cuddly toys, and like things like heart pictures, and you know, like I've got birthday banners up for like a year or whatever because I'm just crazy and I just love that. Spreads the cheer. And also I can't bear to have the empty cages, so that's why I actually have banners there as well, because until I decide what I'm doing with the cages, where I'm keeping them up for a longer time, because I've still got Angel, who's over my parents at the moment, but likely to stay there probably forever, you know, until I've decided what I'm doing with the cages, they will stay there. I mean, that banner's part of you know, part of what Chestnut had in a 3-banner pack. She had the other one, and the 21st key and the stuff the mug and coaster makes me feel young again, you know. Well, I'm still young, you know, but it puts me in a 21st mindset, so it's really good. So I'm diversing here, sorry. So basically what I'm going back to saying is, if we had the type of childhood that we should have had, we would know how to form these friendships in adulthood. But because we haven't had the healthy, happy, I'm presuming you haven't, you know, you might have, I hope you have, but if you haven't had the happy, healthy childhood that you were meant to have, then you won't know how to make friends, because it'll be a scary experience that will be full of triggers for you. But as an adult, you have to think that you can have your own world around you, which is what I was talking about, your own objects in your room. You could decorate the cage in artistic way. Yes, Heather, I'm not going there though. You know, I'm not, that is artistic for me, you know, birthday banners, being a birthday princess. I actually had that banner in Disneyland Paris. So, and I usually like keeping banners up for a year, and then the next year when I have another birthday, I usually get a different birthday banner, because I just think it's nice to celebrate all around. And I don't, at the moment, I'm still upset about my pig, so I don't want to be thinking about that. I just want to keep it as it is. Not, you know, like let it be. Sometimes you have to give yourself time to move on when you're ready, not when you're not ready, you know. So yeah, I just want to leave it as it is. I just don't, you know. And if I do need to sell them in the future, you know, if I decorate and actually do stuff to them and cause problems on them, I'm not going to be able to sell them. Do you see what I mean? So you've got to think long term as well. So for now, I'm happy with them the way they are. I like the sparkly stuff. It makes me feel great. So I just have to be careful to keep my mind and emotions good, because it's still very difficult for me at the moment. So yeah, so I'll keep it as is. I'm happy with that, right? So yeah, I'm getting back to you because I'm here talking to you today. This is not about me, this is about you guys. So as an adult, how do we actually make friends? So if you think about what the qualities I've said as a child you should have, which are, like having more of a fearless attitude, having an abundance of energy, having a explorative mindset where you want to reach out to people because you kind of don't have fear. You just want to have fun in your life. You want to see what different people come up because you're interested, you're intrigued. And if you develop a sense of curiosity in your mind, that can help you. So you need to be fearless, which obviously, if you're not fearless, it takes time to be fearless. You need to develop courage, right? Most of us aren't fearless, but we can develop courage, which will make us less fearful. And the way you develop courage is by practicing it, So if you see a person, for example, in a library, you could just start just talking to them and saying, oh, what book are you reading, for example? And that'll get you talking to strangers. So we kind of have to reverse psychology some of the stuff we've learned as a child. So we have to kind of, like, instead of not talking to strangers, we have to force ourselves to talk to strangers. And I would say a little bit at a time, like some people just think you're weird because they've got all their own issues going on. They've got their own problems where talking to strangers is like a forbidden thing and it's seen as weird and not how they've been brought up, because many people haven't been brought up like that. But only by practicing and saying little things. If you're in a supermarket, you could comment on someone's food shopping in a nice way. Don't forget. Thanks for the thumbs up. That's great. I love those. So, you could comment on a nice way. Like if you don't like something they're carrying their shopping, that's not going to help you be friends with them, is it? If you don't like something about them, don't bother, right? So as an adult, we can decipher more just by like looking at things on people, just by like body language, just by feeling, intuition. We can decipher more where that person may be a good person for us to talk to. Obviously everything's a risk, but that's fine, because when you're a child you don't mind taking risks because you don't think about it as risks. If you were having a healthy, happy childhood, you wouldn't have seen things as risks. You've seen it as a whole adventure out there that's for exploring and playing and like living your fantasies out of your kingdom and your castle and your action figures. You'd be moving forward with a bounce and a lightness about you and a joy and an energy and a fearlessness. And those are the sort of qualities we need to develop as an adult to approach people for friendship. Obviously people have got their own issues and their own problems going on, so you know what's going to come up, but only after we've developed those, are we going to get better and better. And the only way you develop is by practicing. The only way you become confident at something is by becoming competent at it. And the only way you become competent at it is by practicing, which means you have to take steps little by little. So if you're the type of person that's not actually reaching out to people and not actually trying to be friends with someone, you're waiting for people to come to you, that's not going to help you in your life. That's not going to make you fearless. That's not going to develop your courage. That's not going to develop your inner strength. That's just going to keep you in a state of status quo. You can't be in a state of status quo all your life. Well, you could, but it wouldn't be a very fulfilling life, would it? You're just going to lead a very mediocre life that just goes on and on, ploughing like a I was going to say tortoise, but they're too cute. I don't know, like plodding along, like, I can't even think of something. Plodding along like a great big spider. I personally don't like spiders, but some asexuals do. I can't think of something. Plodding along like you're the worst monster you can think of, because you're being a monster to yourself in a way by not allowing yourself the beauty of life to come in. Because whilst you're shutting out all those people that possibly might hurt you, that might betray you, that might be nasty to you, that might be bad to you, you are shutting out all those beautiful people that are looking for friendship, that are looking for companionship, that are looking for I sometimes see there's nice clothes. I tell them I like fashion clothes. That is great, Heather. Brilliant tip. Thank you so much. That's a really, really good thing. So Heather's doing a really good thing. Like, yeah, you can pick something out, an item of their clothing. That's a very good way of getting into conversation. I did that with a guy in Aldi. I said I liked his jacket, you know. So obviously, you know, if you're trying to make friends, you can obviously sometimes when you're approaching people, like, you know, you got to be careful. You don't worry too much, because you could worry and start thinking, oh, what are they thinking? They think I'm flirting with them or whatever. But usually if you're flirting it, you're doing it in a really over friendly way because you like them, like this, you know. If you're just saying, oh, your jacket's cool, like that, you know, it's more casual, laid back. But so what if someone does think you're flirting? It's not the end of the world, is it? Do you know what I mean? You can always change your behaviour or what you're doing. You can always apologise, you can always say sorry, you can always just learn from the experience. And that's kind of what I'm saying here. You have to go out and put yourself out there. You have to learn. You won't learn if you keep yourself behind a keyboard, behind a computer screen. You're not going to learn and develop and grow yourself. And I want everyone who's watching now and who watches in the future this video to not just sit behind a computer screen forever, being so scared to not go out because of all the past bad rubbish that's happened to them in their life. You know, you need to kind of break away over all those walls and those barriers that have been before you. The only way you're going to reframe the past is by getting a different future. The only way you're going to change all that pain and use it to your advantage more in your future is by being different now. If you are still the same person you was as a child, the same scared, vulnerable, lonely, fearful person who won't talk to anyone, there's no difference between you being that 5-year-old or 7-year-old or 10-year-old and you being an adult now. You still feel exactly the same. So until you make that shift from where you were internally then to where you want to be internally now, nothing's going to change. You're still going to have even flashbacks maybe. I've been experiencing this myself. This is why I'm trying to help you, because I'm learning, developing and growing myself all the time, and I like to tell you what I've found out, what I've discovered, what's helped me, what's helping me, and how I know things should be. I'm not perfect. I'm still working on this myself. You know, the reframing of my childhood is something that I've only started doing this year, and only in the recent past couple of months. I've been learning about it for longer than that, but I've only started thinking consciously what that actually means for me and how I would go about doing it. And like I said, instead of looking back at all the past about the heartache and pain and being so lonely and having no one to talk to, you know, and no one caring, I'm trying to reframe it now, and the fact that I was strong. I was a strong person. But I'm like, God, you were like 10 years old. Your friend that ended up being not your friend and ended up saying a horrible thing to you. You gave her up because you were worth more to yourself than that friendship was, and you realised really she was using you, in the sense it was always one-sided. There wasn't a true friendship, you know. And the reframing of that means that I can see things in more strength way. I'm not saying my brain's totally feeling that way. It can still think the other things, but I'm trying very hard to try and keep putting that in my mind that, yeah, you were strong. You were, you know, you're a survivor, and now you're a thriver in life, Sandra. And even when things are tough now, you can think more strongly. And I want everyone on this channel to be that, and to have that in their life too, and to be trying to improve themselves and trying to improve their life and make strides. You know, I know some people, particularly one good friend on this channel called Andy, I hope I'm allowed to say this, I'm just gonna, obviously I'm not going to say anything personal, I'm just going to say that I know he's made leaps and bounds in his friendships with people and getting himself out there to make more friends. That's what I wanted to say. You know, I know that he's developed himself a lot, and I'm so proud of you, Andy, and I wanted to just say that to the world. So, you know, that, you know, I know what you've been through and where you are now, and I know you are so certainly have. Yeah, exactly. You know, Andy's completely changed his life really around, you know. It's not for me to say the ins and outs of it, but I just wanted to let you know that he has gone from being fearful like I was more to being a lot more now, taking leaps and bounds and making a lot more friends, me included. And, you know, he's getting a new lease of life, and that is kind of what it really feels like when you make change happen for you rather than to you, you start to take control of your life. You feel happy. You feel like things are happening for you rather than to you. Because as a child, when we're bullied and harassed and made to feel small, like we don't fit in and we're just so different that no one can ever love us or like us, you kind of, you lose your sense of identity, and change is just constantly happening to you. It's just bombarding you. And so you go into your little shell. You're like a snail in your shell, and like, you don't want to come out. You don't want to come out. You don't even want to peep your tentacles out. If you peep your tentacles out a little bit, it's like, shh, quick, back in. But what I need you to do is I need you to come out with your head out of the snail shell and have your little feelers out. And yes, if you feel something that's not great, you can just lift your tentacles off and you can go in a different direction. Instead of like retracting all the way back into your shell, you can just feel your way around life. And if it feels like, intuition counts for a lot. And the problem when we've had a bad childhood as well is it can totally undermine our intuition. A lot of us probably won't even know we've got intuition. Maybe later on in life we'll find it out, and it can make you second guess yourself. Like, I am kind of my own worst enemy sometimes because I second guess myself. And usually the first thing I think is actually the truth. It's actually the reality. It's actually what I should always think and believe because I'm correct. But because I was a child that didn't have reassurance in her life, that wasn't made to feel that her decisions were the wrong ones all the time, I hadn't got that strength to know that my feelings and thoughts were actually valid and that they were correct a lot of the time. I was made to feel that they would be wrong, and I was made to feel, really, with the way I was treated, that I was to second guess myself all the time. So even as an adult now, it can be really, really difficult. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes your intuition can be fears as well. So you've got to try and weigh up where the things you're thinking inside are genuine intuition, or whether they are actually fears that are coming back to bite you in the bum, as they were, because of your childhood and past childhood patterns. And really, it's okay to do that new thing, but you're so scared, you see. So it's kind of really hard. Life is a full-on learning process and developing process, and we don't ever stop. But to make friends as an adult, we really have to put ourselves out there. We have to put ourselves forward, and we have to continue communication. Like, if you just want acquaintances all your life, fine. Just sit back, talk in forums, stay at your computer screen. Don't get out in real life to meet people. Just do that, and all you'll ever have is acquaintances and possibly good or not so good, close, maybe not so close family relations. The people who you see day in, day out because you have to, because they're there in your space. But if you want to make friends outside your family and outside the people you would usually come into contact with, you have to put yourself out there, and it requires work on your part. So any relationship or friendship requires work. It's like having another job. Like, all aspects of your life really are like having jobs. You have to put time, energy and effort into them. And if you don't, they will start to dwindle. They will start to cause you issues and problems. And it will start to make you feel sad. And it's really hard because the different areas of our life we should be paying attention to are like, multiple, like our health, our finances, our family, our mission in life, our purpose, which might not be what we're doing for a job, family and friends, loved ones, spirituality, if you're spiritual, intuition is kind of part of spirituality. You have a lot of things to juggle in your life, and it's best if you can try and get them all in balance, but often they're not. Often you can only really work on one thing at a time and become successful, because if you spread yourself too thinly, then it kind of can get a bit messy. But ideally you want to be trying to balance things out and looking at these aspects of your life every week on a weekly basis, like on a Sunday or a Monday, and saying, how is my health going? How's my relationships going? How's my friendship going? How's my work going? How's my mission going? And with friendships, are you making an effort? So when all's said and done, our families won't be around forever. We don't want to be lonely, so we need to be making friends. We need to be putting ourselves out there, because the worst thing is that you should be fearing more is the fact you could end up lonely because you haven't done the work of actually trying to make friends. You have stayed in your shell because you've got your parents or your family members around you, not even thinking about your future and just playing it safe. But that is not going to help you later in life, because when they aren't there anymore, there's just going to be you. And all that time you could have been trying to make friends, you're going to be scrambling around to try and make friends then, or you're going to be lonelier and lonely. You know, I don't want that for you, you know. It's hard to make true quality friends. I found it very difficult in my life. You know I have. From this channel that you've watched my journey, you've watched me tell you how difficult it is. I've got some real true friends now, and I do believe they'll be in my life for future years to come. Obviously, I still need to continue trying to find and make some friends, because you need to try and keep expanding your circle. I think in your lifetime, you probably only get a handful or minimal real quality friends, and you do need them in your life. But the only way you're going to get them is if you try and turn some acquaintances into friendships. So how do you assess whether acquaintances should be your friends or not? If you go back to yesterday's video, I did a video all about how to find out early on if someone's suitable for a relationship. Now, if you're not into relationships, you probably didn't watch that video, but there is a lot of good content in there about the qualities and things you should be looking for in friends. So basically, it's the same sort of thing. When you're looking for a friendship, you need to be, you need to talk to people, lots of people. The more people you talk to, the more people you have chance of becoming friends with, right? Everything's a numbers game in this life in that sense. But, when you see you have things in common with people, that's when you can start to think about having a friendship with them rather than acquaintance. But that requires you speaking to them, having a conversation, like saying, what are your hobbies and interests? What job do you do? Tell me about your family. If you've got brothers, if you've got sisters, where do you live? What's life like for you? How's your job going? It's only by being inquiring and inquisitive about other people can we then get them to be inquiring and inquisitive about us. Obviously, with some people who are not developed themselves in terms of making friends, who are withdrawn into themselves and things like that, they may not reciprocate back. And there's only so much you can do. If you're there making the moves, asking them loads of things and they're not reciprocating back, if you feel it's going one side already, stop. Don't worry, move on to someone else. Life's too short to worry about the people that are not going to be your good friends, and there's lots of them. You know how many Facebook, I mean, not everyone's on Facebook, I understand, but you know how many Facebook friends you can end up having. But how many people of those Facebook friends actually talk to you? You might have 410 talk to you. Do you see what I mean? It's but you might go in forums. You might be on asexual sites and go in the forums there, but how many of those people actually talk to you in private message? How many people are just talking online, but how many people are trying to form real, genuine friendships with you? Friendships take time, work, energy, and effort. They take you to private message. They take you to meet up in person if you can, if you're in the same country, or, if you might want a video chat or phone them if you're in another country, but it requires time, effort, and energy. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there, and you have to be thinking more like as a child, the healthy child who is strong, courageous, brave, who realizes that not everyone will want to be their friend back. And that's okay, because we're all different, and it's usually not so much to do with you, but also issues the other person's having in their life, So just be bold, be brave, develop a curiosity about people, develop an adventurous side to your nature. Think, every person I come into contact, it's an adventure, isn't it? You don't know what you're going to get. Like in Forrest Gump, isn't it? Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So that is what life's like, But if you see people in forums are a good way to develop friendships. But the thing is, people use them in the wrong way, in the sense they just continue being in the forums. They don't think that these people are crying out for friends. If you read forums, you read through them all, there's lots of people that go, oh yeah, I'm lonely, I've got no friends, I haven't got a partner. And how many of those people are actually speaking to each other? They're not. They're just saying the same thing in the forums over and over and over and over again, like a record. They're not actually doing anything about it. And why on earth aren't the people that are saying they're lonely, if they've got stuff in common? Obviously, if you see a person, they look totally different. You see them, you just think, oh, they're far out, I'm not interested in them, they rub me up the wrong way, I don't like what they're writing about. Don't bother contacting those people. You don't need tons and tons of people in your life as friends when they're not going to be your true friends, because you're not going to have be able to relate to each other. That's not a true friendship. But when you're friends as a kid, when you're making friends as a kid, you can kind of meet people who are different to you. But even as a kid, you can kind of like feel sometimes, oh, this person doesn't feel good for me, you know, I'm gonna like, you know, but you still, besides having that kind of intuition they're not good for you and steering clear of them, you still need to be putting yourself out there, like playing with the next kid. Like, you know, when I say playing with the next kid, not physically, you know, that's not what I'm talking about here. When I'm talking about playing with them, you know, I'm talking about like chatting to them in life, you know. But you might want to go to, you know, you might want to meet up to go for a drink, or to see a concert together, or a comedy sketch together, or to just, you know, first of all, if you're meeting someone in person, you know, go to a place that's public, that's quite informal, you know, that's informal, yeah, you know, one that's quite casual, but in a public place, if you know what I mean. One that you can relax and feel yourself in, and go somewhere that you feel kind of safe in. You know, if you're meeting someone quite a long way away, try and meet in a mutual place where it's mutual ground, so you might both not know the area that well, but you still have got safety measures in place, you know. So you always have to protect yourself, but still use that fun playfulness, you know, about your life. Still explore things, still reach out to people. But because all I see in a lot of forums is people just keep talking and talking and talking in forums, and they're all crying out for this in-person, real life friendship, but they're too scared to make the first move. And you know, and they're like, you know, like when the people, even the person posting the forum, how do you make friends as an adult? Well, I would kind of think to that person, well, what are you doing now? Like, how many people are you actually speaking to? You know, you know, it's just like, it's kind of like really ironic that the people who want friends are the ones that are posting, not actually trying to put themselves out there. And you have to like, if a lot of the world is online these days, you can't get away from it. Even if you don't want it to be online, it's staring you at the face. It is online, right? So you can make friends online, but you also need to make friends in real life, you know, like I said, you know, look for opportunities in a library. If you go to the gym, look for opportunities in the gym. If you go out walking your dog, look for opportunities then to speak to people. You know, if you've got another dog walker, you know, say, oh, your dog's beautiful, you know, ask if you can stroke it if you want to. Chat about that, you know, chat about the way, if you go walking a certain way and someone else goes there all the time, there's likely you could become really good friends. If you go to a certain cafe at a certain time and someone else does, go over and chat to them, just say, oh, I saw you here before, yeah. You know, you could even say to them, you know, do you come here regularly? Is there a reason that you come here, you know, like, or if they got their laptop open, oh, you know, that looks great, what are you working on, if you don't mind me asking, you know. Don't feel like you're intruding. If you're intruding, they'll probably look at you a bit like, dude, what are you doing? And then you can be like, oh, sorry, I'm just really curious person. Oh, forgive me. And then you can be like, oh, you know, have a nice day. If you need to, you can always get out of the situation. Do you know what I mean? But you've at least tried for yourself, and the trying will help strengthen you as a person, help strengthen your character, and it will help you kind of forget all that past where you're just constantly feeling fear. But you have to be willing to be rejected as well, and that is a difficulty lots of us face. Like with me, because I've grown in confidence, I'm not so bothered about rejection anymore. I kind of think, well, that's their issue, that's their problem. If they want to reject, that's fine. Not everyone's going to like me, not everyone's going to get on with me. And that's another thing you have to realize in life, that we are not here to be liked by the entire world, planet and universe. That's not what we're here for. And people have it into their head that, oh, if I'm not liked by someone, you know, it's bad. But actually it's good, in the sense that you are going to be pushed more towards the people that are going to like you, and be driven more away from the people that don't like you and don't get on with you. So you can find your people, you can find your tribe. I found out in life that, you know, you're better off with people who are like-minded, who understand you, who get you. And the people that don't like you, and don't understand you, don't get you, they can go from your life. You don't, and the quicker the better, right? To make way for those people that will like you, spend time with you, enjoy your company. It's really important. And you know, some people don't understand that in private message you have to talk to them, like you have to kind of pretend that you're in a room with them, you know, you're chatting to them like a friend. So the best type of friendships I have are the ones where we have ongoing conversations. So you have to kind of picture the online world as your offline world, in the sense of, like, you know, they're coming maybe for a cup of tea in your house, in your lounge, and it's like, but they're doing that in the virtual world. So when they come to chat to you on message, you're kind of like continuing, I enjoy this channel. Oh, thank you, Heather. Bless you. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thanks to everyone. Thumbs up is always appreciated. Thank you, Heather. That's great. So yeah, so when you're talking, like I'm talking to you now, aren't you? You're kind of like hanging out with me in my bedroom. Do you see what I mean? I'm inviting you in my bedroom. I don't know who you are, some of you. I know who some of you are, like Andy, I know, Heather, I know, Michael. There's some other person that's been watching this throughout nearly the entire show, and I don't know who you are at the moment because you haven't popped up as far as I know to say who you are, and that's fine if you want to remain anonymous. I hope you'll find the content helpful, but I love you all the same, like I love all my followers and the people that are following this channel. And so, you know, just go out there and be bold and be brave. Anonymous, Scary Jerry. Oh, hi, Scary Jerry. Thank you so much for saying that you're anonymous and not anymore, but you're beautiful, just like the others are on here. So, you know, I've learned a lot in my life, and I try and help people on this channel to just, you know, like try and learn what I've learned. It's not easy. It's not an easy path, especially when you've had bad things happening in your life, especially when you've been, you know, everything you've kind of been taught, which is the wrong things you've been taught a lot of the time, the fear, the dread, the pain, the hurt, you know, it's kind of hard to undo all that and unravel it. But you have to remember, as an adult, you are the one in control of your own life. You can make choices and decisions for yourself. If someone's bad in it, you can choose to keep them in your life, or you can choose to go from their life. You know, make way for good people and better people in your life. And like I was saying, like when you're messaging people, you have to understand that you have to kind of treat them online like they're like with you in person. You know, that's how you form emotional intimacy a lot quicker, is if you kind of talk to someone like you've talked to them throughout your life, because you're not scared, because you're being completely open with them. If you share secrets with each other, obviously you kind of at first you might not know if they're trustworthy or not, but if you share a secret about yourself, try and share a secret that if it did get out, that you're not, you know, you can be strong enough to suck it up, as it were. Like if it did get out, your secret you're telling them, you can still be strong. You know, if the world found out, it wouldn't be a catastrophe, so that you can be kind of confident that the first sort of secrets you're sharing are, and intimate thoughts and feelings are ones that you know that you can be strong about, if you know what I mean. So if anything does, the worst case scenario happens and something goes completely wrong, you can still be strong as a person, but you kind of have to develop that over time. It's not easy, but you can kind of get a sense of the person. I mean, obviously if the person's saying stuff that's making you feel uneasy, you know, don't share secrets with them. They don't deserve your secrets, but you can still share bits about yourself. So in the beginning, rather than sharing secrets, share parts of your life, like share parts of your day, your job, your pets, your life, but ask them questions. The way that you can make friends with people a lot more easily is if you ask them about themselves as well, because people absolutely love talking about themselves. Usually they might not think it, because they might think, oh, if they've been taught that their voices don't matter, they might think, I'm not important, I don't want to talk about myself, right? But actually those people need to talk about themselves because they're very misunderstood. And if they're misunderstood, they're kind of retracting their shell because they're misunderstood, and then they'll never be understood if they don't talk. So they actually do need to talk, even though they don't realise it. So get them to open up, you know, and you open up and share things with your life. Like I said, you know, even if you're not sharing secrets straight away, because you need to gauge really whether they're safe to share secrets with, open up about your life, about your job, your work, your, you know, how you are in your world. If they don't give back, if they give back but it's kind of like they're just doing it out of duty, then you kind of like, after you chat, just leave them for a while. If they really genuinely like you, they'll come back and they'll carry on talking to you. If they don't, they'll just stay distant, and that's fine. You can move on to the next person. It's perfectly okay. And I just want to end this session by talking about, you know, I did mention as well the acebook.net and asexuality.com. Now asexuality.com is an asexual dating site, but it's also used for, some people use it for gaining friends and they talk in the forums. And again, ace-book.net again is a social networking and dating site for asexuals. So those are ways you can go to those sites and you can sign up, and ace-book.net is free to sign up. Asexuality is free to sign up but costs money, you know, to do so. If you want full features to message people, it's quite cheap because it's like X amount of dollars per year, so it is kind of worth doing. But you know, that way you can talk to people online who are like you. Don't forget there are some sexuals on these sites as well. I have to let you know that. But you know, you can still be friends with sexuals. You know, just make sure that their intention for you is good. You know, not bad. But obviously, like-minded, being friends with other asexuals is very empowering. If you get the right friends, people that are good for you, that's very empowering. It can make you have a new lease of life. It can make you feel validated. It can make you feel secure in yourself more. Like, you should be getting these things from yourself. But sadly, when we're young, when we're bullied and criticized, it can make us very powerless. And sometimes in order to get our power back, we kind of like need to be around people who empower us for us to empower ourselves. It's kind of like, you know, when you're watching superhero movies and you're seeing like the Justice League, for example, you're seeing like superheroes coming together. It's because as one, the force is, oh, Star Trek, the force. as one, you know, with more people, the force is greater, you know. So if you're around like-minded people who you relate to, who are like you, who are, you know, like sort of really happy they've met someone like themselves, and it's kind of a reflection of yourself, and you're kind of mirroring each other, you're kind of getting on, you know, that is really empowering. It's like you become a superpower together because there's strength in numbers and unity. And when you haven't had that before in your past, when all of a sudden you get it, it's like a lightning bolt. Seriously, it's like, well, hey, you become like your own superheroes and you form like a asexual league. It's great. And it's just wonderful. And you know, by you know, pulling together, I mean, you can become friends even with people that you may not have so much in common with, but may complement your personality, may give you new life perspectives on things that may help you see a different way of life that you could actually get on with despite not being exactly like that yourself. You know, I've got a best friend who's not asexual, who is sexual. She's female, and we're very different in some ways, but we can complement each other and we can work things out together and we can compromise and we can still have a wonderful time. So we make each other laugh so much. But I know in some ways she's a very different type of person to me. Maybe years ago, I met her through my old job, but maybe years ago she wouldn't have been the type of person necessarily that I would have approached. But when I was doing it in my work, it's kind of, we kind of had other things in common, like especially emotions and like shared experiences with past and some present. And we both really valued friendship, and we both really valued that deep, committed friendship. And we both, because we both valued friendship so much, we both wanted to make it work. So sometimes you can have friends that are very different to you, but because you really want to make it work, you will make it work, if that makes sense. And that will provide longevity, that will bind you together in a bond. So just because people are different to you, sometimes you can actually find people that complement your personality, that complement your lifestyle, that complement who you are, and that actually teach you different things about life. And you'll sometimes find as friends that you can cross over, so you can end up becoming a bit more like them and they can end up becoming a bit more like you, and that can be a good thing, so long as you don't have a friendship that becomes like codependent, where you don't have your own separate lives and you just rely on each other to boost yourself up all the time. I have healthy friendships now. Like my best female friend, actually, she doesn't tend to contact me so much between times of seeing each other, but she will go out of her way to spend time with me in person. I do have a still need friends that contact me regularly, because personally that's a kind of friendship need of mine. Otherwise I don't speak to anyone here in my flat on my own, you know. So I kind of do need other friends as well to talk to, which is healthy. You need, you know, have at least a few handful of good friends that you can go to for different things, and that you can talk to and that you can be yourself with, because obviously one person can't be with you 24/7, or can't be talking to you or messaging you 24/7. So by having a few friends, you can kind of share that love and kind of share that care and kind of share that sort of moments in life around different people, so that you're not always just going to the one person all the time that does have a life of their own as well. It becomes, you know, a lot more healthier if you have a few friends. But for some time you might just have one friend, because it might be hard for you to have lots of friends. But you know, keep going to, so like I said, you can go on the asexuality.com dating site, asexuality.com, ace-book.net. What else can you do to make friends? Well, you can go, like I've said, recap on this video, you know, if you meet people in a library, when you're out shopping, when you're out dog walking, going on the beach for a walk, you can start chatting to people then. You can also go on a site like called meetup.com that has various different groups with different hobbies and interests. You can usually find one in your city, or you might have to travel. This means you have to go out of your comfort zone. Yes, like I said, making friends takes effort, time, and energy. It is like another full-time job. So you have to be putting yourself out there. That means you might have to go to a group where you know absolutely no one. But what I would suggest in that instance is try to message the organizer. Try and get to know the organizer a little bit better, because once you know just that one person, which will probably end up being the organizer, or it could be you see people in a group like a forum, and it could be you see people who have interests and things in common, so you could just message them and say, hey, I see you're going to this meetup, I've thought about going along, but I'm a bit scared because I don't know anyone. How is it working out for you going to it? You might find that they've never been before. You may want to meet up with them before you both go in, or just as you're about to go in, meet outside together of the place you're going to be meeting up. Or you might just know that you're going to talk to them when you get there, so you've got one person to talk to. So, you feel like you know someone, That's all you can do, is keep taking strides forward. And if you feel better in one-to-one than groups, try and get those one-to-one people first, but you do have to kind of try and just have a go at being in a group, see how you get on. And when you're in groups, you can talk to just people one-on-one, quite a lot in groups. And then what you do as a group is you kind of try and mingle a bit more. So once you've spoke to one person for quite some time, you can say, it's really nice talking to you, I'm just going to see some other people. And then you can go around talking to some other people, and that's how you can make friends with other people. Obviously, you may be so enthralled with this one person who's amazing, you've got so much in common with, you might be quite fixated on them and end up talking a lot to them. But in order to develop and grow yourself and be in a group, you kind of have to break off from people and start speaking to different people. You can get their numbers, you can get their contact details, you can meet up again, you can get round people, but just take baby steps first, rather than thinking if you go to a meetup you're gonna make tons of friends, which could be quite scary. Just think, if I can just make that one friend, like I said, message people beforehand. On meetup.com, some people you can message, some people you can't, because they might have their settings. But I went to an entrepreneur group in my city several months ago, and I didn't know anyone there, so I messaged the organizer first, and then I saw I think I saw a couple of people in the group and I messaged them, but really I mostly just messaged the organizer. But because I'm quite confident in myself now, I was like, yes, you can go up there, but it's scary, isn't it, when you go up there? But if you get there first, if you find going into a crowd is quite difficult, if you get that, be one of the first to get in there, actually that can be good, because people can then come to you. So it's kind of how can I put it? For me personally, I would rather be one of the first people there, because then when people come into the room, I'm sort of already like a statue. I'm already strong and powerful because I'm there. I'm a presence that's already there. Sometimes going into a group when there's tons of people in that room is harder, because I'm not already in it. It's kind of loads of variables. But where I'm already there, say I'm there early and I chat to a few people already, I've already got a foundation. I've already got people I've talked to, and I'm kind of part of the furniture already. I've kind of found my place, and I kind of put my stake down, and I'm kind of here I am, and people are coming to me, even though they're not just coming to me and for me, they're coming to me, if you like. So that is a case where you're making change happen for you rather than to you, which is why when you're on the asexual forums, and you can start your own forum thread, for example, on asexualistic.com. I did that a long time ago. The thread's still going. I think it's been going for about a year and a half, maybe even longer than that now. And the thread people keep coming in my thread, and then I go in there and reply to them whenever I can, because you need to keep the thread going. If you're responsible for a thread, it's kind of like you're responsible for an organization of something. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like your manager, you're managing that thread. But that's a very good way if you want people constantly talking to you in forums. But then if they come in your thread and you see similarities between you and someone else, then you can actually private message them. I do that a lot. But actually, sadly, it's a technique that hasn't been that successful for me in terms of getting many people to carry on talking to me. However, it's still very good practice for me to do that. If I see people in forums and they're like, oh, I haven't got any friends, or I'm feeling really lonely, or I'm looking for a relationship or something like that, and I reach out to them and they are non-respondent to me, that's not a problem with me. That's a problem with their end, their issue, you know. They're you know, when people are saying they're constantly lonely, or they don't like this, that and the other, and they're feeling scared, and they're you know, but the thing they really want, they're saying in the forums, like, no one's speaking to me, I've got no friends, no one cares, yet they're blocking themselves off from everyone and not replying. Then, you know, that's their issue. You can't change other people. Like Heather said, you know, you can't make people like you, and you can't change people. So sometimes people have to deal with their own problems in their own ways, and realize through their own mistakes or their life experience that they do need to change themselves. And life is a constant change. And if you can go out there and be powerful and strong and bold as much as possible and make change happen for you, it is a lot less scary than just constant bombardment of change happening to you. And you have to realize in life that you have to think of yourself, you know. If you've got family, parents, relatives that you live with, and you think, yeah, I chat to them all the time. Like, I chat to my mum the majority of the time, like every day. Like, when I say the majority of the time, I mean like not all the day, but I mean I chat to her a lot on the phone throughout, you know, most of the week, because, you know, like, I personally like talking on the phone, but not all the time. I personally like you know, I like having one-to-one in-person contact. I personally like that. And to be honest, the majority of my friends, they private message me via text, but they don't pick up the phone to me. You know, my best female friend, sometimes she does, but I need that. So when anything happens to, you know, heaven forbid, you know, if something happens and I haven't got that anymore in life, that is going to be a really difficult thing for me to deal with, because I have to have people that also want to talk on the phone. If there's people that are my friends that don't want to do that, then I can't kind of like, I can suggest it to them because maybe they've not thought about it, but I kind of like, you know, I can't make them be like that. If they don't like talking on the phone, some people don't, then they don't like doing that. So I kind of have to try and find people that do, but obviously it's not the same as speaking to your family. But, you know, it's still good to have other friends and other people to go to, you know. Messaging is better, that even if it is virtual, than not having anyone at all in your life, if you sustain that virtual friendship, if you know what I mean. I've been friends with a person now for you always need a lifeline. Exactly, Heather, you always need a lifeline. And some things that really worry me is when some people like just focus solely on their family and they don't actually reach out to anyone else. Like, it's hard for me. I'm an only child, so that was another difficulty growing up, is that I wasn't used to socialising with other people. I never went to preschool. I didn't go to school till I was 4 or 5. Some people go to like preschool. They go to like play school. Do you know what I mean? They go before school. They're going to mix with children. I never had that. I was an only child. I hardly had any friends. I wasn't used to socialising. And to be honest, I got better in groups since I had my old job. I haven't got it anymore. I was there for 5 years in a big department store. So I made myself go to leaving dues, which I'd never been before because I hadn't socialised in my past jobs. But I thought, I need to make an effort. These people need to know that I care about them, you know, because if all I'm doing is not going to events and not going to these things, because really it's not been my scene in the past, you know, it's not really my thing. But I thought, if I don't be seen to be going, you know, people are going to think, well, she doesn't care about us. Someone's leaving, she's not bothered, so why should we care about her? So I started going, and it helped me a lot. But what really helped me more is running asexual meetups. I can't explain how my confidence has grown, because I've always been really like a leader. I'm not very good at following, if I'm honest. I'm not a sheep, as you've probably guessed right now on this channel. I'm not a sheep, and I do have problems even in employed situations. I am much better working on my own, if I'm honest, than in groups. I always have been, and I probably always will be. I'm more of a leader than a follower, but I have been in management for 7 years in my jobs, and I was always better, really, at being in the manager role than I was an employee role, because in a manager role, I was given responsibility, I was organising things, I was being in charge, and actually, my personality, I'm actually better at that. So, but in my personal life, you know, even though I was a manager in my personal life, I was still struggling, you know, and kind of like, it's kind of hard. So when I decided to take the bull by the horns in 2015, I saw those people in these threads on Avon, asexuality.org, and they were just putting it out there that, oh, I'd like to have a meetup, you know, but no one was doing anything. It's all talk. And these are the people usually that talk, they hide behind their computer screens, they don't actually do anything about it because they're too scared. I mean, I know a lot of people are introverted, not just asexuals in this world, but you kind of need to actually train yourself to have some traits that might be more of an extrovert, even though you're not an extrovert, because you have to get out of your comfort zone. You can't stay indoors all the time, a computer screen, because it's not healthy for you long term. Do you know what I mean? It's not gonna sustain you long term. You have to be thinking about what your future is gonna be like after things happen that you may not want to happen with family. After, say you've only got one friend and that person does go from your life, you're going to be left feeling very needy, that you need other people. You've got no one and lonely. So it's best to have a few friends rather than just one. But you might be that you've only got one good friend or no good friends for some time, so it is a learning development process. It's not easy. I don't want you to think I'm saying this stuff's easy. It's not. It really isn't. It's hard work. But it's worth it to grow your own self-confidence, your own self-worth. If people, it's sad when people, I'm even messaging a guy on ASAP. We've been friends on Twitter for a long time, and I've never really talked to this guy before in my life, not properly. And on ASAP we end up talking nearly every day at the moment. It's really kind of strange, and I'm asking him all about his life, if he's got brothers, sisters. We're sharing things that have been a bit traumatic with each other. We're talking about life experiences. We're talking about past relationships. We talked about friendship today, actually. And when we talked, it's now yesterday because I've gone over midnight in the UK, but we were talking about friendship, and he was saying how he finds it hard to let go of friends, and so do I. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to say this is easy. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I've got this nipped in the bud and I'm accelerating way beyond anything else I've ever imagined, because I think I am, to a certain extent, that I'm able to get on with my life without feeling sad all the time. I don't get depressed like I used to. I don't feel lonely like I used to. But I know, for example, if I wasn't phoning my mum a lot, I know that would be very difficult, because I do need that contact, because I am an extrovert, and also because I just like to be able to speak in the moment. But I think I do think quite a lot of that's extrovertism, but I also do think that anyone really needs people to talk to. Otherwise, you do end up going a bit insane in the brain. Do you know what I mean? If you're indoors all the time and you don't get out much, you're kind of internalizing stuff all the time. You just need that off switch. And watching TV all the time that's full of lots of pain and stuff is not going to help you in your life. In actual fact, I don't watch hardly any TV. Lately I've watched a little bit of TV, but for months sometimes I can watch no TV, because that doesn't make me happy. It's not seeing all this death, destruction, rape, violence, murder, whatever. It doesn't help your mind. It's not good for it. It just pushes you into a scarcity mindset. The world's really bad and you can't speak to anyone. It's not healthy for you. Whereas if you actually, on Facebook, if you start, some people might be acquaintances first of all, right? So you might friend people that, that have got inspirational posts that look like they've got good stuff on their profile, and that when you follow them or become friends with them, even if you're not becoming really good friends with them, you might follow certain people to inspire you, to enhance your life, to make you feel better, because once you get that positive vibe coming from other people, and you can see there are good people in the world, people that bring joy and happiness to your life, you won't think that everyone in the world is so bad, and therefore you'll be more inclined to act more courageously and go forward and be bold and be brave. If you can see other people are good, you'll know that there's good people in the world, that you can go forward and you can build a better life for yourself, one where you can make more friends, one where you can turn acquaintances into friendship, and one where you can strive and just become a better person for yourself and for others. I do find it difficult to let some friends go, but other friends I found easier to let go, because other friends in my past weren't my true friends. I was made to think as a child that anyone who's my friend I should be grateful for, but that's not actually true. You should only be grateful for people that are your true friends, that really care about you, that actually want the best for you, that actually have an equal friendship as much as possible, not ones that they take and you just give all the time. That's not good or healthy for you, and you don't deserve that, and you need to value your worth more and leave that situation. I didn't value my worth years ago because I wasn't valued as a person. My worth was basically squatted on the floor. I didn't have any worth, didn't have any self-worth, because no one valued my worth. When you're a child, it's hard to think for yourself like that. You're influenced by everything around you, but when you become an adult and you can make friends as an adult, you can influence yourself. You can impact your own life. You can get people in your life that are better for you. You can get rid of people that are not good for you. You can choose different paths in life. You may cock up. You may go completely the wrong way, but you can always turn your life around. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to think just because I made a mistake or I did something wrong or I chose a person who I thought was my friend who's no good. You don't have to, have this regret or this like animosity towards yourself, like, oh, I did wrong, I'm a really bad person. You don't need to think like that. You have to think that other people have their own issues. Other people are not necessarily good people. Other people maybe are good people, but they're dealing with some rubbish in their life right now that's turned them into like behaving towards you like you don't want right now. So maybe those people are just temporarily out of life and you're like, hang on a minute, I'm not liking this. Obviously, with any type of friendship as an adult, when you are making friends, you have to understand that you're not going to agree on everything. But the way to try and have a relationship, healthy relationship with a friend like that is if you can say, I'm not feeling good about that, you made me feel a bit upset. If they're becoming a good friend, if they're just an acquaintance, you don't need that in your life. There's no reason for you to bother with that person. But if they become a really good friend and for some reason they upset you, you can say, I feel upset by that and this is why, or that made me feel a bit insecure, or that made me feel a bit scared, or that kind of triggered me and didn't feel great, So, like I said something to one of my asexual friends recently, and he messaged me back like, that's a bit insensitive of you to say that, Sandra. And I'm like, well, I was a bit taken aback. I'm really sorry I upset you. I didn't mean to. And the person said, oh, you haven't upset me. I don't get upset easily. But, he made me think about what I was saying. So I tried to explain myself. I didn't have, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. But if you're dealing with a friendship and you're trying to get on, sometimes kind of opening up your feelings or thoughts, because they're not a mind reader, can help. So I kind of felt, looking back, that I hadn't really explained myself properly. So I tried to explain why I said what I did and put it into more of a context, particularly with two people I'd had in my life where I'd seen the benefits of doing what I said I think is the best thing to do, rather than not, because the person that's doing the things eventually that I suggested is kind of like living a happy life. The person who's gone away from what I suggested and is actually leading a life with someone who's being very abusive to them, basically. So, and they have to learn from that. I can't help them anymore. I've done all I can. I've been helping them for a very, very long time. So, sometimes you have to leave behind the people you can't help anymore. Sometimes the best way of helping someone is by saying to someone in their life, I'm sorry, I can't help you anymore. So you might find you do become really good friends with someone, but in the end, it might go a way that you don't want it to. And as an adult, you can make that choice that you have to leave that person if they're becoming, if what's going on with them is becoming really toxic for you. So, for example, I have had a lot of abuse in the past. And if I have someone in my life that's constantly telling me about their abusive situation day in, day out, that's not, and I've told them to leave that person. I've explained the way they are, I've explained it, or I've even warned them before they even got with them. There's nothing more I can do. If they choose to be that way and live that life with them for how many years, that's up to them. But I can't have that. This happened recently with someone I know, and I can't have that in my life. I can't be hearing the person talk about all the abuse they're going through when I've already had enough abuse in my life. I don't need that anymore, and I've already told them what this person's like, and I've already been helping them for over 2 years. You can't, there's only so much, because really I'm not being kind to myself. I'm not being a friend to myself if I'm keeping myself in that toxic mindset, because I'm hearing them pumping stuff into my brain all the time. Because that's what happens when you watch the news a lot of the time. I don't watch the news usually. That's what happens when you watch a lot of TV programs. You're constantly having violence, rape, bad things, and that penetrates your brain and your subconscious. So then you become scared and you think the world's a bad place, and you react to it out of fear instead of out of love. And that's when things that are bad can start happening more in your life, because you're attracting bad stuff because you live in fear. So, you're attracting what you really don't want. Whereas if you open your heart more to yourself, and put yourself first, this person, I said to this person, I care about you a lot, but I care more about myself. And now I have to just think it's better not to communicate anymore, because I cannot help you anymore in my life. And you have to do that sometimes. It's sad when you have to do that, but it's also good for you. Like, I know now that I haven't got that in my life where I'm constantly hearing someone being abused. I don't need that in my life. It's up to them. If they choose to stay with that person, there's nothing you can do. You can say, I've been in an abusive situation, right? And when someone is with an abuser, normally you can't tell them. It doesn't matter what you say to them, because if they think they love that person, they will stay with them, even if they're bad. I stayed with a bad person for years. I was trying to help them because I saw myself in them. I saw what happened with me in my life is going to happen to this person. I was trying to stop it. But actually the person wants to be with this person who's abusive, and they finally admitted it to me. And so there's nothing more I can do. There's nothing more I can do. You know, they actually left this person and went back to them just like I did years ago. But they are adamant now that they are with them, they're staying with them, they love them, that's fine. But I'm not going to hear every time they're coming on saying this person's neglecting me, this person's not giving me any attention, this person expects sex out of me, this person's going off smoking, drinking, this person's out all hours, I'm getting someone to follow him. And do you know what I mean? It's just crazy. I don't need all that drama in my life. So, you know, sometimes you have to leave certain friends. You might make really good friends, you might be friends. Like this person I knew for over 2 years, you know, but you have to let them go sometimes. And sometimes it's the best thing for them, because it's the only way they will learn. If you've got friends who are going through some trauma in their life, but it's only temporary, that's fine. You know, you don't need to cut off from them because they're going through some temporary trauma, because true friendship means you're there through thick and thin. But what it doesn't mean to say is that you're there in the thick of it with them 24 hours, 365 days a year, and all you're hearing is the bad stuff all the time, because that's not healthy for you. That's not a good friendship for you. You have to find friends that give you some balance in your life. And, you know, like, I've got friends on Facebook. I've got one friend who I've been with, a person who I've been friends with for like over a year, and she recently lost a family member that was very close to her. And you know, because I've been through some recent trauma about losing Chestnut, which has been difficult. I've actually thought to myself, when I kind of like, was getting out of the grief scenario, that I needed to reach out to other people. So if I saw any people on Facebook that had a death, or, you know, who were having a really bad time, I would reach out to them and say, hi, how are you? And particularly if someone's died, you know, that person had lost, you know, a very dear family member, and another person had lost their dog, you know. And I messaged them, private messaged them both. The person lost the dog, so we both lost our best friends, and it's really difficult, you know. And it is really difficult. But I know reaching out to that person, who I don't actually, the one with the dog, I don't actually private message that much, but I know reaching out to that person really would have helped them, because I know it helps me when someone reaches out to me and just says to me, how are you doing? You know, how, giving the scenario of what's happened to you, how are you feeling? How is life going? You know, like, you can't say, how are you doing? Like, be like, how are you doing as in nothing's happened. You have to say, how are you feeling with what's happened? How are you coping? How is life being for you at the moment? You know, like I said to my friend who'd lost a very close family member, I said, an immediate family member, I said to her, that I've been friends with over a year, I said, you know, I said, like, how are you feeling? You know, because that is, you can't sometimes know what to say to some people who've lost someone they love or have been very close to. It's really difficult. If it's death, it's just like very final, isn't it? So you have to, like, you know, like, rather than being scared of actually speaking to them because you're like, oh, they probably don't want to hear from me because they're too upset, just reach out to them. They don't have to reply straight away. Just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm really sorry to hear about your loss. You know, how are you feeling now? You know, and so, you know, like, you know, or even a private message, rather than just writing on their Facebook if it's something like that. You know, like, say, you know, like, I'm, you know, like, how I saw your post, you might have commented even on it, but I just wanted to give you a personal message to see how you're actually doing, because I think public posts are great, they're very supportive, they make you feel nice that you've got people who care. But I also think a private message from a real friend, genuine friend who really cares that bit much more, is like really nice. You know, and that person just might want to talk for a while. They might start talking about stuff that's got nothing to do with actually what happened, because they need to take their mind off it and talk about other things. Like my friend who I've known for over a year, she's a very dear friend, and who lost a recent family member, she started repeating this same thing, which was not to do with the family member, losing the family member, but it was because it was taking her mind off it. I didn't say, well, you've mentioned that 3 or 4 times to them. That's not the type of thing you say. You're just like, because it's something that's happy for them, they are remembering that and they're putting that in their mind because they need that. So all you do is say, oh yeah, you told me, but what's happening with that? You know, what's going on now? How's it going now? What, you know, or you reiterate what they said to you before about it, and you say, tell me more about it. You know, you take an interest, because that's helping them. You know, like when you're in a traumatic excuse me, when you're in a traumatic situation, you need to take your mind off things. So sometimes they'll want to talk about what's on their mind, like their loss, and other times they'll want to talk about other things. And you just be there for them, you know. True friendship, when you're making friends as an adult, you have to sustain that friendship. It's back and forth conversation. It's equality. So not only, you know, can it be hard to make friends, but sustain it can be even harder. Because if you start to not talk to each other, it's not going to be sustainable, is it? So you need to keep up contact, communication, however you two like to contact and communicate. You can suggest different methods. If they're not up for that, they're not up for that. But, you know, like, you need to maintain that contact, the connection, the meeting up in person or on the virtual real world, or chatting to them by phone or message. Because once you stop contacting each other, really, the relationship then becomes more of an acquaintance, or you don't even end up speaking at all. So you both have to make an effort. You both have to be there for each other through the good times and bad times. Just like I'm saying, just make sure that those bad times are not destructive to your own life so much that you just can't be doing with it. So obviously, if someone's talking to you about a traumatic situation, I've had people talk to me about trauma, and their trauma has been hard for me to take sometimes, to be honest with you. Not anyone, I'm not actually talking about anyone that watches this channel, just in case you're watching this channel. I'm not talking about anything like that. There's one particular friend who's doesn't watch my channel, as far as I know, and they're online, and they told me some stuff in their past that was really, really hard for me. It wasn't their past at the time, it's just we've been friends for a long time. They told me some stuff that was happening to them, that's now in the past, but at the time it was happening to them. And they told me, they did actually tell me some other stuff related to kind of that in their past, which was horrendous as well. And kind of that was really difficult for me to deal with. I mean, it's kind of like, because they were going through, it's kind of like I was feeling the trauma as well. And if you're someone who's sympathetic and empathetic, then sometimes you can feel their pain. And that is okay, so long as it doesn't become hugely destructive to your life. You know, you can tolerate a certain amount of that. You know, you can be, you know, you can, in that moment, you might need to be there for that person, because it might be the opposite way around. Sometimes something really traumatic might happen to them, you know, and they might need you. So you kind of like, you know, you need to get a balance. So if you find that always being, you know, if you find you've got this new friend who's lonely, depressed, but also talking badly of themselves, moaning all the time, saying they got no friends, there's no wonder they haven't got any friends if they're just negative all the time. You can't be around someone like that, because you will literally end up like them. You will literally end up being negative all the time, and you don't want that life for yourself. So be very careful about getting a balance. You know, it's okay to share problems. It's great. It's great to share problems, traumas, past experiences, because you can relate to each other. Just make sure that if it's, when I was saying horrendous stuff, you know, I'm talking about really, really abusive stuff, you know, like, because I've been through a lot of past abuse. Like, if someone's, like I said, this person who's constantly in an abusive situation, who's just constantly messaging me every day about abuse, so I had to cut her loose. And to be honest, the friendship, it wasn't really a two-way friendship with her. It was very much her way. She just wanted to talk about herself and her problems to me all the time. And because she was younger than me and looked up to me as kind of a mentor, then I didn't try and even change the relationship in that way, you know? I didn't even try and change the situation in that way. I just tried to, you know, I tried to let her speak her mind and try to help her, because I really genuinely cared about and wanted to help her. But sometimes in your life, you can't help people, you know, there's a time when you have to sort of think that's enough is enough. and that was one of those times. And if you find yourself as an adult in friendships that are becoming really one-sided, where you're phoning them or messaging them, wanting to meet up with them, and they're not responding to you, and if they respond to you, it's only about their life, their problems, their issues, and they don't talk to you outside of you messaging them because they don't ever instigate messages, that's not a healthy relationship of a friendship for you, and you need to look for better friends for yourself and let those people go. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you there. I hope you found this video useful, helpful, and insightful. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like it. I know I've got a couple of thumbs up already. I would love to have a third and fourth thumbs up if you've liked the content. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a very, very interesting topic for me to discuss with you. I hope you've got some great insights into... thank you so much. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you for... Jerry, is it, that was under anonymous? Thank you, Andy. Thank you for everyone else that has been throughout this whole live stream pretty much. I know it's been a long one, but I really wanted to help you guys out, and I hope you've benefited in some ways from it. I would love you to share this video with a friend, because I really think and feel they can take a lot from this video. I really feel that they can learn through my experiences, and that they can learn and use some of the techniques I've spoke about in this video to really try and break through their barriers and try and make some really good quality friendships. If you believe that too, please share it. It really would be amazing to help as many asexual people as possible. Thank you so much. If you aren't already subscribed to this channel, please subscribe now. Hit that great big subscribe button down below. Thank you, Heather. Have a good night to you too. And hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now or post a new video. I really appreciate your time and your energy for being here. I know you've stayed up late in some of the countries you're in, and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, and a very good night or good morning or good day wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for sharing your life with me right here and right now. Thank you. Take care. Good night. Nice to see you. Embrace your quirky, as I say, and each other's. Bye bye.